What's up, vapors? Thanks for checking out Daily Vape TV. My name is Nick, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Smokin' Vapors Me 1. So first of all, let me start off by saying a big shout out and thank you to everyone that ordered one of these sweet hoodies or t-shirts. I think they came out pretty sweet. And if you want to get one right now, well, you can't. The design is done with. We had that run on teespring.com that I was talking about on my Instagram and Facebook and everything like that. So you can no longer get these shirts, unfortunately, but I will be sure to come out with a new design in the very near future. So stay tuned to my Instagram, because I think what I'm going to do is have some sort of voting system or something like that where you guys get to pick the next design that comes out for Daily Vape TV shirts. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with this video. Today we've got the Smokin' Vapor Me 1, this little tiny guy right here. And I gotta say, it's pretty enjoyable to vape on. And I'll get into the finer details after we go to the close-ups and all that good stuff. So before I get into this video, I do have to state my intent by saying that I did pay for this device out of my own pocket. However, that will have no impact, positive or negative, on my thoughts or feelings about this device. Therefore, my opinions will remain honest and unbiased. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at our options for this device here. First of all, I found it online for $39.99, which is a pretty decent price for something like this here. Pretty much everywhere I look, that is the price for it. So I think it's pretty decent. With that, you have 6 different color options. You have the black sand, which is the one I have here. You also have lava shell, mystic shell, ocean shell, purple shell, and yellow shell. I'll put up a picture right here so you guys can compare them. But yeah, so lots of different colors, which is really, really nice. I really like the fact that you can kind of accessorize, I guess, with your vape, which is kind of cool. And yeah, I just really like the pocket portability of this thing, and it's great for an on-the-go vapor such as myself. So with that, let's go ahead and dive down to the close-up view and take a better look at this thing. Alright guys, so as you can see, I've got my Me 1 in its original box, so let's quickly take a look around the packaging, then we'll take a look at what's inside. So, we've got the logo for Smoking Vapor, silly name if you ask me, and Me 1 in a gold emboss with a very glossy package. Their logos on the top and the bottom, and some gold writing on the back as well. Very basic information here, just basically what's inside the box, a little blurb about the device itself, and your traditional warnings and everything else. So let's open her up and see what we got inside here. This comes out like that. We have our device itself, of course. We've got a couple of coils. Of course, I've used one there. We've got a nice little lanyard, wrist strap kind of thing, if you want to use that. Nice touch there. Let's just go ahead and take the device out. We've got a USB cable, very, very, very compact USB cable. I like that. I like those kind of USB cables. It's good to travel with. And in the bottom of the box, we have our quick start guide. So let's just take a look at that real quick. Some basic stuff, you know the drill by now. Yeah, not too much, going on there. Basically how to fill it. And that's about it. So, and of course it's in a few different languages. Alright, so let's quickly go over some of the main features about this device. First of all, it's an all-in-one device, which means that you don't have to worry about putting a tank on. It's already built into the unit. Battery is built in. It's an 1100 milliamp hour battery. It charges with the micro USB port right there with a maximum of 1 amp charging. The minimum resistance is 0.3 ohms, and that's not going to be a real issue considering it uses the BF atomizers or AIO coils by Joytech. So you can have 0.5, 0.6, 1 ohm, and 1.5 Claptons, I believe, are the options available for that. Also, it has this bright LED on the top here, which is your battery indication, and your fire button as well right there on top. It has a child-resistant top cap here, so you can just kind of freely spin this thing around and you're not going to be able to get that tank open. So it is child-resistant. You have to actually push down on it in order to get that off. That's also your airflow. You hopefully will be able to see those little dots on there. That is actually the indication. There's also an arrow that lines up right there of your airflow. It does have this little tiny little lanyard strap thing right here that you can hook it to. Comes in a variety of different colors. Sparkly. These little outer skins here are pretty cool. Mine is the kind of boring black, but it does kind of reflect light differently, so it's kind of sparkly, which is neat. Yeah, and it's really all there is to it, basically. You just take it apart like this. You just push down and unscrew in order to fill up your tank. And your coil attaches to this end here, so that's my coil. You fill up your liquid, and it does have a max fill line on the tank. Hopefully you guys can see that. And that's pretty much it. Couldn't be any simpler than that. So let's go back to the main screen, have a quick vape on this thing, and we'll talk about it some more. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the close-up section of this video. Now let's talk about my personal thoughts about this device, some pros, some cons, and whether or not it's worth purchasing. Starting off today with the pros, and my first pro is that it's very stylish. Now, I chose the black option because, I don't know, maybe I'm boring, but even with the black option, it does have this kind of texture to it, and it's like almost sparkly in a way, I guess. It kind of reflects light in different ways, which is kind of cool. So even if you go with the most boring out of all of them, you can still get a little bit of, style points with this one here. The other colors that are available for this thing are awesome. I really, really love the look of them. And it's one of those things that it's the little things that count with mods nowadays. And that is definitely something that really, really made this one stand out in my mind. So very, very well done there. So my second pro today is that this thing holds almost twice as much juice as an AIO. Now, I feel like there's a reason the AIO only holds 2 mils, and that's to comply with Europe's TPD regulations. So with that, I believe the cap is 2 mils of juice in your tank, and that's why they went with that. But for us over here in the States, having 3.5 mil juice capacity definitely helps. I mean, that's pretty much a day's worth of juice as long as you're using a 1 ohm coil, which I am in here. And yeah, I really think that it helps out a lot, especially when it comes to longer car trips and things like that. My normal kind of testing methods is taking this thing on the road with me. And yeah, this definitely holds enough juice for a pretty decent car trip. So my third pro is the simple setup and ease of use. Within a matter of minutes, you can get this thing up and running. You take it out of the box, you prime up your coil, you fill up your tank, you put it back together, and you're off and vaping in a matter of 2 to 3 minutes. Whereas a lot of the other devices out there right now have complicated menu systems and batteries and tanks that come apart and everything else. This thing could not be any easier, and that's one thing I can definitely appreciate, especially for the newer vapor out there that just wants something that they can vape on. That's just as simple as filling it up with liquid and changing a coil every once in a while. That's it. And that is definitely what this device delivers. And for my fourth and final pro, we've got the price. I gotta say that $40 is pretty reasonable for a little starter kit like this, and that's kind of the category that I put this into. It's more of a starter kit for newer vapors, people that don't want to spend an arm and a leg getting into vaping, but they don't want an actual e-cigarette like one of the little tiny things that you see at the gas station, or they don't want a pen style device. This is a good option for newer vapors. Alright guys, so moving on to some cons. My first con is that it looks sturdier than it feels. Now, what I mean by that is that it looks like a chunk of plastic, which it is. It is very, very plasticky to the touch. The outer coating here, the actual design part of it, is pretty much just basically a sticker, and I've seen a few of them that have their stickers misaligned a little bit, and that just really, really takes away from the stylishness of it. Also at that, when you feel the bottom here, you can feel kind of where the vent holes are supposed to be or something like that. There's definitely some ridges on the bottom here which feel a little funky to me. Also, the little piece that holds on the lanyard is really, really tiny, and I feel like that's going to break in a matter of seconds. So I really don't even trust myself to put on that lanyard and actually hold it around my wrist or anything like that, because I feel like that's going to break first. So other than that, the metal on it, yeah, again, feels really, really cheap. So as far as the build quality goes, not the best. So my second con today is that the included coils tasted a little bit funky to me. Now, when I filled this device up with one of my favorite juices, I primed up the coil, I let it sit, and I put it all together. When I started puffing on it, it just didn't taste like what I was used to. It really just tasted a little bit dry and kind of musty and just not right to me. So I ended up ditching that coil, went with a 0.5 AIO coil, and I got nothing but flooding issues. So with those two coils out of the way, the only option I had left was using it with a 1 ohm coil, and that seemed to work really well for me. So that's the way I'm actually using it right now, and I'm pretty happy with it. But I feel like the included coils just aren't quite 100%. So for my third con, the battery indicator light is pretty poor at best. Now, it's supposed to glow green from 4.2 to 3.7. From 3.7 to 3.4, it glows yellow, and below 3.4, it glows red. Well, for me personally, mine tends to go green for almost the entire time that I'm using it, up until about 10 to 15 minutes before I have to throw it on the charger, because then it starts glowing yellow, and by the time it gets to red, it is completely dead. It may stay red for one puff, and that's about it. So as soon as you get to yellow on this thing, which is, you know, maybe 10 to 15 minutes warning, get to a charger as soon as you possibly can. So it's not really the best system in the world. I really feel like they could have done a better job with it, and it just doesn't really work for me. So I tend to have to kind of charge this thing pretty sporadically, just in case I'm ever out and about and I need to, you know, have a little bit of battery life. And for my fifth con, I just feel like the design overall needs a little bit of a tweak. Now, the fire button, as you saw, is on the top of this thing, and that includes the battery indication light. But when you're driving at night or you're in a dark room, you're pointing the mod at yourself and then basically just blinding yourself with this LED. It is really, really bright, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I just think that it's misplaced. I feel like having a fire button on the side would have helped out a whole lot. With that, I can't see inside this tank here, so just having one little slot to check your juice level is not really efficient, because I can't even tell just by looking at it right now whether it's full or it's empty. I feel like if they put two slots down the side of this thing, that would have solved that issue. Or if they put a light in the bottom of the tank, similar to the AIO, that would have solved that issue for me as well. But I just feel like if they kind of move things around a little bit, the design overall would be greatly improved. So, at the end of the day, is this thing worth purchasing? And in my opinion, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I'm kind of up in the air about this one, because on one hand, you have the fact that it's small, lightweight, compact, portable, and relatively inexpensive. So it's going to be good for the newbie vapor and someone that might want something a little bit stylish. However, on the other hand, you have, you know, all the cons that I mentioned, plus the battery life isn't all that great. So I don't know. I feel like in the configuration that I'm using it in currently, which is a 1 ohm coil with the airflow as closed off as I possibly can get it, mouth to lung drawing on it, and using 25 milligram salt-based e-liquid. I'm using Blood Orange Lemonade by Mr. Salty right now, and it is delicious. So with that, I feel like that is a great way to vape. The throat hit is on point. Using a 1 ohm coil is a nice restricted draw for me, and for that style of vaping, then yeah, it's good. It doesn't gurgle, it doesn't leak. Every other way I've tried to vape on this thing, it just didn't give me the satisfaction that I was looking for, didn't give me the throat hit, and it just kind of, I don't know, I wasn't really happy with it. So yeah, in this instance, I really like it, but in all other cases, I feel like it kind of needs a little bit of a redesign, and I feel like it could be a little bit better. But for some people out there that might be on the fence about vaping, that just need that little extra push, maybe the color options that are available for this thing are the determining factor. And you know, it sounds silly, but sometimes that can be the difference of someone trying a vapor product over smoking, and that's what really counts in my book. So yeah, I feel like, you know, if you have a smoker in your life or anything like that, show them the Me One. Maybe they'll like it, especially if you get them a 1 ohm coil and some higher milligram juice. I feel like that's going to do it for them. So that about does it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this. Of course, leave me comments in the box below about what you think of the Me One or anything else you want to discuss down there. I'd love to talk to you guys. Of course, check out the advocacy and my social media links in the description below. Thank you so much for joining me, and as always, vape on.